God throughout the Bible has a history of renaming people based upon this is who you are now. This is how the world viewed you before, but this is how I view you. And he took people's names, and often he would change them. We see him change Abram, whose name meant high father, to Abraham, whose name meant father of a multitude of many nations. We see Abram's wife, Sarah, when it was with an I, that meant argumentative, which she was argumentative. He changed her name to Sarah with an H, which now meant princess. We see him change the name from Saul, which meant prayed for, to Paul, which meant humble and small. We see him change the name of Simon, that meant he has heard, to Peter, which meant the rock. And probably my favorite one of all was he changed the name of Joseph, who later became known as Barnabas. The name Joseph meant he will add, but the name Barnabas meant son of encouragement. And we see from that point on that God changed Joseph's name to Barnabas. The Barnabas became the encourager of the early church, and he lived up to the name. And Paul's writing saying Onesimus, who used to be unprofitable, is now living up to his name. A message that we could take today. See, we see people all the time, and I know people right now, I have friends of mine that would never come into church because they say, you don't understand my history. You don't understand the choices that I've made. If I walk into the church, the common phrase that they use is the walls of the church would probably fall down. Does anybody have a friend like that? I said, man, if I walked in, the walls of the church would fall down. Here's the thing. Not one of them thinks that because they walk into the church, the structure of the walls of the church are going to become compromised. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, man, if I walked into church, the people would be really judgmental. Because I was given a name at some point. Maybe I was in high school, and I started doing some things that I shouldn't do, and I was given a name. Or maybe as I became older, I started to participate in habits that became repetitive in my life, and I view myself as an addict, or I view myself as a criminal, I view myself as lazy because my dad said something to me when I was young, and we take on these names, we take on this garbage in our life, and we see those names forever now define us. And we take on a name that God didn't give us, and we live up to the standards of that name. And Paul says, wait a minute. I know what you think about this runaway slave. I know you think that he's useless, but I'm telling you, he's useful. He's going to live up to this name because he has become useful not just for you, but for me as well. And so I want to make sure that we have this understanding that his name he's now living up to is his name, that he's useful, that he's profitable, and that as we take on the name Jesus in our lives, those past names are erased. No longer do people have to see us because of the stains of the past, but because the hope that's founded in Christ alone.